What's happening, guys? My wife won. She gave me the haircut, so the curls are gone. But I did a video tonight. Typically, we do the video recaps for members every single day. But I've done a video before about looking left and how it can help you with your trades. And so today it was literally that. I executed exactly how I preach on four different names. At first I say three, but then I realized VXRT was the same situation. So, things have been compounding well. This was my best day almost ever. Actually, it might have been my best day ever. It's nice because it's just doing the same thing over and over again. And when those A+ opportunities happen, it's about taking advantage of it. And so we had that on Shop, we had that on mRNA, we had it on NVAX, and we had it on VXRT. Trading is not easy, but the easier you make it, the more simple you make it, the easier it's going to be. And so this is a super, super simple concept that I use that typically it gives me an advantage to those just trying to pick spots and then getting squeezed out. I typically do not size into a move that I'm wrong on. I try not to anyway. I typically try to let the trade come into my favor, and I always, before I scale, but I always look for certain levels to prove my thesis correct and let it unwind and fail at prior levels of resistance that became support that now become resistance again. And you'll see exactly that. I've also mentioned before about the not getting bent before key levels test. Everybody always sees something ramping up and they say, well, this is up too much. I'm going to go ahead and start in short. And then you end up getting screwed, right? So this is a great way to kind of check in with, all right, well, if this squeezes back to the last resistance, am I okay, or do I have too many? And I guarantee a lot of times you will look at it and you'll say, I probably have too many. And just by doing that alone, you're going to be able to withstand more of a move without the emotions and be able to scale in when it's time. Too many people scale, and then when it comes to that breaking point, they know it's the breaking point. They squeeze you out, and then that's it. How many times have you covered the top, right? So this is a simple thing that could help you be able to prevent that. All right, guys, so tonight I want to go over just three names. Obviously, I traded a lot more, but I want to go over a key concept that I talk about every single time. It mostly relates to mRNA and NVAX. However, Shop to an extent also could be used in this example. So in this situation, my goal was higher the better. My goal was 650s plus, over and under a whole $50 mark. We talk about, whether it's at $600 or whether it's at $6. We talk about 650, 7, right? So $6, $6.50, $7, $60, $65, $70. Same thing, $600, $650, $700, right? So these whole and $50 marks, these half $100 marks, whatever the case may be, they act as good spots to kind of make a plan off of. And when you are near those levels, your goal is just the higher the better, because at some point it's probably going to want to come around and hang around that 650 mark, and then if it gets heavy, it's possible that it could unwind. So this is a great example of that. So I didn't want to get too aggressive, but I also did not want to underestimate this thing. So while it might have been a good cover along the way. I just felt like today was the day, and I could have been wrong. And even Shop yesterday was a great trade, but it wasn't the day. And in a situation like this, yesterday I did not overexhaust myself, so I was ready. I was not, screw this name. I've had it. I'm exhausted from it. I'm just gonna ignore it. It wasn't a situation like where I feel like on Tesla sometimes, when we trade Tesla and it's like, man, I'm just so exhausted, I'm just going to take it off radar. It's not worth it. And so because I did not pre-exhaust, I was ready to go. And so, I as I said, pre-market, you've got to be okay. I'm not going for a couple dollar move. I'm not looking for a $5 move. I'm looking for, 20 to 50 plus downside. And so if I'm looking for 20 downside, that means I need to be typically a 3-to-1 kind of reward to risk ratio would leave me right around $7 of risk, right? On an entry. If you're thinking about $21 to keep it even, to keep it simple math. So, I got to dabble in there. And this is a confusing thing for a lot of people. Well, why do you start in if you want it to go higher? For me personally, I just need to get in the name. I just need to get in there. And that could be bad for a lot of people, right? Because they might size in and think that they're, really just dabbling in, and meanwhile they're really at half of the position that they were planning on trading. And then that's when they get bent up. So really the key is to look at prior levels of resistance, and let these trades really kind of do the work for you. So I was up a ton, right away. But as I said in the room, this is not what I was going for. I was looking for 580s, and people ask me why 580s. It's just 600. If you were looking at a $6 flush, where would you expect it to go? 690s, 680 flush, maybe into 670s, something like that. So, or excuse me, in this case, I guess 5, right? So if you were looking for the 6 flush, it would go 580s, 570s, something like that. So that's where that number comes from. If you look at all the times that something breaks a whole number, where does it typically go, right? So, at any rate, this was my game plan, and I needed to get there a little bit. This is again, not adding into a loser. This is just kind of getting my bearings straight, getting in there, and so basically shorted into the 660 mark. And started to fade off. It failed a couple times, scaled in, anticipating red. And at this point, that was about $608. It did a little bit of a bounce from 608 to 614, and just the not that I stare at the P&L, but the P&L swing was just so large. That was the first time I kind of really looked at my P&L. I was like, you know what? I might as well just size down, to about 2/3. Take off a third, take off a fourth, just to lock some in, just in case it wants to jump around. But my goal was really waiting for 580. So, at any rate, got there, reshorted it a little bit. You can see a little, right over here. But for the most part, just let it do the work. And we got a little bit lower. It went to 560s, and it had a nice rally. It goes to show you can trade these things both ways. Personally, I didn't want to get emotionally involved. I didn't want to force anything that wasn't really part of the game plan. So, I just took the trade and moved on. I had a lot of other things going on. I had WATT. I had VXRT, I had mRNA, and I had NVAX. So anyway, actually VXRT is also another making the same point that I wanted to make for you guys in this video. So at any rate, when you're looking at where it was hanging out yesterday, right? So you're looking left, right? You want to see it basically peak out at these prior levels. So let it rip, let it do its thing. But the part that I started to scale in, I waited for it to basically unwind and break under those levels before I put on any size. So on the front side of the move, I had 1/3 size max. When I first started dabbling in, I'm talking about 100 to 200 shares to a potential 1,500 share full size position, right? So I'm talking about 10% of my position. But anyway, this one, looking left, look at the resistance, look at the areas of consolidation from yesterday, the key levels. You can kind of see that 630, 635 was the spot that, if it starts to base. What's a lot more clear is something like NVAX, and this is just so clear cut. And once again, I'll say this again and again and again. Gotta click a button here. Hold on. I like to dabble in. I always have to put on a little bit of a dabble right over here. I just put in a dabble to be part of the name. I have to get in there. I have to be in there. And then I can react accordingly. So as you see, I got the top. And I said the exact same reason why in the room. And it was a simple concept. I am not saying trading is easy. But the easier that you make it, the easier it's going to be. Trading is not easy, but keep it simple and it's going to work a lot better for you. Okay, so for this situation over here, you can see it went right up into yesterday's resistance, right? So I felt very confident in the sense that this level was likely to hold. If it doesn't, that's okay. I am reactively trading, starting in so that I can have some type of baseline entry so that when and if I am right, I can scale accordingly. Now, I definitely scaled up. You can't even see it, but right here, there's a green arrow. And it's because I got a little too aggressive with the size. And, so like I said in the room, I wanted to make sure I was, on point and no headaches and no reason, it's okay. I sized in, but, because I slammed a bit and I got a little aggressive, the emotions came out and I had to size down a little. I didn't want to go red on the trade. It was still early in the morning. I didn't want to get into a situation where I was maybe a little bit too aggressive. So what did I do? The very next second, maybe like 10 seconds later, I resized right back in because I got the free look. I covered and it immediately sold right into, I took the offer, there was no thinness. They refreshed the offers, it stayed heavy, and that's all I needed to see to confirm. And so because I was safe, I was able to read the situation again and rescale back in around that core and obviously capture, a good part of this downside. So, this is a big trade. This is 26 to 20. That is a big move, no matter, what, even if you had 1,000 shares. But obviously, for me today, it was a good day. So really great opportunity to see this in action. Simple concept. Looking left. Use that to your advantage. It really worked out well. And once again, mRNA, what do you know? We look left. Similar to, it's like in between what SHOP was and what NVAX was. NVAX, I would say, was picture perfect, right? But in this situation, I'm looking and it's 55 level, right? 55 level was the prior level right over here. I don't want to get in a situation where I'm too aggressive. And by the way, on this NVAX, I did actually short it a few more times in E-Trade as well as mRNA, but it just reminded me because mRNA continued down. I did get a good portion of that, but just on a little bit less size. But back to my point here. So 55s was clear. So I need to be, let these things trade out. Most importantly, don't size up too much If I want to be 10,000 shares short, I need to be, maybe 2K max on the front side, just in case it goes a couple extra bucks, right? And, if you want to be 1,000 shares short, you probably shouldn't be more than 100 or 200 shares, right? So I personally have to dabble in. I personally have to, just get in there a little bit to get a feel for what's going on. Just like I said, for some of you guys, you should just wait for the levels to break, to get heavy. And that's why I always write the levels in the room, because, these can bring out the worst of you if you are trading the front side of the move and you don't have good risk management. And that's why I spent a whole big paragraph in the scan last night where you guys need to be looking left. You guys need to be focused on where does this stock change trend? Where does it fail to follow through, but at the same time run into sellers? Because as it breaks that as it breaks the prior support level, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to become resistance, right? Sometimes it breaks under it, comes right back up, and it's right back same support level. So you want to see it kind of jump around, and get heavy at the prior area of resistance. Well, what was support become the new area of resistance, and that is a better entry for a lot of people that might not understand sizing on the front side. And believe me, there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that should ignore it. So you're not alone if you find yourself always kind of getting bent up on the front side. But that is why I'm a broken record, because I've been there a million times. And we all learn the same way. We all make stupid decisions. We all say, it's ran up too much. It can't go up that much further, can it? Yeah, it can. So I always make sure I have a lot of room based on where I want to be, right? So anyway, just awesome situation here again. And we had 55s all the way down to 48s, and then we had a flush all the way down to 43s. So at this point, and again, I got a little bit of this in E-Trade. I traded it actively the rest of the day, as well as into this push, and I covered sub 47, just like I said in the room. But it's just such a simple concept that if you guys apply it to your trading, it's going to help you so much, because it's going to pull the emotions out of the trade, because you're going to have the confidence based off of those levels. And look, if it starts to base over those levels, then you're wrong. But a couple of people had asked me, today on certain names, what's your stop? Same thing with WATT. What's your stop? It's not that kind of trade. If you need a hard stop, you need to wait for the trend to shift, to break down, and then risk accordingly. So that was that. And then VXRT is another example. This again is not all my trades. I actually traded it better in E-Trade, but I basically shorted the rips and covered the flushes. Again, into the rips, covered the flushes. Into the rips, covered the flushes, and I covered down to about 1/3 size in E-Trade, so I kept some of that over. But once again, look left, right? So I mean, you've got this clear level at 330s, 335s, and that doesn't mean that you just size in at 330 and say, hey, that was the prior top, that's it, I'm going for it. Because guess what? Sometimes it might need to go a couple cents more. Then you freak out, then you cover, and it pulls right back, right? So you always want to be the guy that's got the confident offer into that strength, rather than the guy that's, timid. Oh my gosh. Should I cover now? And that's really the key. And on top of that, let's take it one step further. The same thing I told you guys this morning. Pull up the daily chart. Where can this thing run? Where is it going to run into an issue? You guys had it right here. Prior top, 340. Prior top, 350. Prior top, 345. Do you think it's just going to break through 345, 350 with no pullback? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that it might do that. But do you think that it's a good spot to, one, not get too aggressively short until it tests towards that level, and two, a good starting point to assume that it's going to probably peak there? So that's the same thing that I said pre-market, same thing that I said in the room. So I want you guys to start throwing these concepts up, looking left on your charts when you're trying to trade these things. So really fantastic day, guys. It was my best day of the year. So and I've been gunning for continually improving myself and trying to do it, and finally the stars lined up, and we got SHOP, we got mRNA, we got NVAX. I mean, there was a lot more available, but there's just only so much that you can do. So I hope you guys had a good day, but please throw these concepts in there. If you guys are getting bent on the front side, please do not take dabbles. Draw your lines, wait for those levels to start to peak, and then use proper resistance points as stops, maybe with a little bit more wiggle room. But the other thing too is just realize the channels that these things are in, right? So, you could notice that, VXRT was stuck basically in a 320, 293 to 320 type of channel through most of the day. The sooner that you see that on the chart, the better off you're going to be. So anyway, reach out if you guys have any questions. Once again, we did the live mic in the room today, so hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Whenever I'm trying not to trade, my goal is to open up the mic and answer any questions. So again, great job today, and we'll catch you in the room tomorrow.